We're back with our panel. So the movie's out, review's not so good, but it still continues to make money. You're a professor of communications at St. Peter's College, Barna. Why do you think they continue to make money, these movies, when they've been done a zillion times?
Well, let me say that the reason that I disagree with some of the reviews, I love this movie.
Oh, you did?
I loved every moment of this film. I can't wait until I can get
You should be a movie critic.
Until I can get the DVD and put it in a special place in my home. So I thought that, and the reason why these films are making money is because they just hit a chord with us culturally, personally, psychologically, something like Superman spiritually even. I mean, Superman's always been my favorite superhero. And I mean, I use Superman oftentimes in various communication theory courses in my, at my school. And Superman, I always feel, is this fantastic Rorschach test for American audiences. Now, wherever you might be coming from politically, spiritually and religiously especially. Now you can see Superman representing your belief system. It's fantastic how you can see various religions even.
You make a very good point, so let's throw it over the DD. In these difficult times, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. People are afraid of what happens with their jobs and the economy and around the world, the Middle East and so on. Do they need these superheroes to reappear again and again?
I love the movie. I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. I mean,
Wow.
you know, the S means hope. And it was just fascinating because, you know, the villain was General Zod, but Superman is truth, hope, in the American way. So I think it's wonderful to have a positive influence and have a feel-good movie, because a lot of the characters now are dark, you know, like the Dark Knight, Batman, and some of these other troubled characters. Not Superman. He's very positive the entire time, and he's fighting for the United States and his new home. And I just think it is a good message. And Russell Crowe was great as his father. And here's another point that is different, that in Kryptonite, everyone was genetically changed. He was born illegally because he's born naturally.
Right.
So that was sort of, I thought, an interesting message too about how too much government intervention or world intervention can be bad, and people should be able to be free to be good people like Superman.
Well, there's always a narrative underneath, but Jerome, did it make you feel good as a filmmaker? Did you come out warm and fuzzy and happy?
No, because, you know, as a superhero, I mean, a superhero to me should be somebody who's not using violent means to an end. And
Well, name one. What superhero doesn't do that?
Well, they shouldn't. I mean, they should use their intellect. They should be smart about it. They should solve the situation without violence. I mean, if you want to take a look at superheroes, but you know, you want to take a look at Martin Luther King, you want to take a look at the idea of Jesus. I mean, these people, you know, embodied the idea of a superhero by not using violent means.
Well, you make a very good point. I don't know if I agree with that. I think the definition of a superhero is he's going to crack some heads, quite frankly.
Yeah. And Superman is about as positive as it gets for superheroes, really. Most of them are way worse.
And he's trying not to be violent.
He's trying very hard not to.
Yeah, but you got to go way beyond trying. You got to be nonviolent, and you have to solve it, because violence begets violence, and so.
Well, but these guys are genocidal maniacs. I mean, these people are coming to exterminate.
But we have to be smart to undo their evil.
Superman stopped General Zod, who wants to take over our country and kill us all. I mean, that's a good mission.
Right, kill. Unlike the old Zod in the original Superman films, who just wants to rule. This one doesn't want to rule.
No, this wants to destroy our planet, take it over.
Now, Barney, you make a very good point. In a lot of ways, you see a lot of religious undertones in a movie like this, and it replaces a lot of our beliefs and so on. Give us an example where Superman...
Yeah, but these aren't religious overtones. I mean, when you talk about religious overtones, you're talking about, you know, thou shalt not kill. That's a religious overtone.
Yes, but Barney, you said you saw some of those.
Yes, and the religious overtones in Superman have been very old. People have always looked at that. Primarily, you can see a Judeo-Christian overtones.
Good and evil.
Good and evil, exactly. When when they put a baby Superman into the spaceship, it looks like a little Moses fleeing. Or here you have the only son of this distant godlike character who comes to Earth to become Earth's savior. So there you can see the Christ-like allegory. And maybe here, what I could say that maybe Superman is the sort of Jesus figure that maybe some people wish that Jesus would be more like he's trying to be.
Like he should come down off of the cross and get his 12 disciples and say, all right, now kill those people that are trying to kill me.
When there's a line, where there's absolutely nothing else you can do, then he, because he even goes to the church. There's a fantastic scene where he goes to ask a priest. He doesn't know what he should do, and the way
he's troubled.
He's troubled,
conflicted.
Absolutely. And he's sitting in one spot, and one scene, and on the stained glass behind him, there's a picture of Jesus. So the parallel there is.
And when you know what he
too
says? Do you remember the
obvious.
priest says? He says you have to take a leap of faith
Yes,
sometimes to have
yes.
trust. So it's a nice message. And I mean, for me, I just like have the good guy beating the bad guy.
You like
saving
that,
the
huh?
planet and true justice in an American way. And I just think, especially for kids now, when you've got so many negative video games and so forth, let's have a positive superhero movie.
Well, that's my question. Why do we continue to need Spider-Man movies? Why do we continue to need Superman movies? Why do we continue to need? I mean, a summer doesn't go by where we don't have some sort of superhero movie. A lot of it goes back to our youth when we used to read comic books. A lot of it goes back to this feeling of being young again and invincible and so on. But why do we continue to need these superheroes? And you mentioned something about the dark side. This movie, World War Z,
Oh my.
is the total destruction
and then there's another
of
one,
the
White
earth.
House Down. It's like, how many more negative movies can we have? Thank goodness for this one. It's
All right,
very
we'll go back to
positive.
the filmmaker. Why do we have negative movies? And
I mean, you always want somebody to be on your side. You want to think to yourself, oh, I'm in trouble and somebody's going to get me out of it. Here's a super guy. You know, but we have to think a little differently to not use violence to get ourselves out of situations. And that's where I hope that a director and a writer will use that idea to get
And
a
how do you beat the bad
superhero.
guy? How do you beat General Zod? I don't think he's going to listen to, you know, having coffee and saying, hey, would you just cooperate with us? I don't think it's going to work.
No, well, I don't think it's that. I don't think it's appealing to, are you going to cooperate with us? Because, you know, for guys, if a person is a maniac, he's a maniac. But we can be smarter than to use violence against violence. So.
Superman is good-hearted. I mean, there are so many superheroes you can pick on, you know, the ones that are a lot darker. But the Superman movie is so positive, and he really doesn't want to go there. He's just protecting Americans. He's protecting his people that are his new people. So it's nice.
well, you all make good points here, and I think some of your analogies as well. That it's almost a replacement for our beliefs when we see movies like this. We want things to be right and wrong, good and evil. But as you mentioned, Jerome, a lot of the negotiation is
That's a
usually
good
in the
point.
gray area.
That's a good
and,
point.
And the world works in the gray area, not necessarily right or wrong. We've seen even in politics sometimes when somebody thinks he's absolutely right or absolutely wrong, it turns out to be a mess. But you know, a lot of the world, it goes into the gray area. Do you think it replaces what we'd like to see in this world where everything is always black and white?
Well, that's one thing that these superhero movies do generate. They generate contrast. They generate villains that are really, really evil. And you know, Orson Welles used to say, you know, everybody has his reasons. And if the director or the writer could explore those reasons and give humanity to the other side so that we can see that the evil person isn't so evil that they have their reasons, and then not use violence to overcome those negative situations.
Professor, do your students see this nuance when they go to a movie like this?
I hope they do. And
Do they understand the nuance?
Yeah, I think they do, and I think the also what they're seeing in these films. I think what audiences are taking away from these films and why they're so successful is that these films also function as a fantasy for what we would like to think that we could be. Because with the superhero, you always have the secret identity, who's someone who's smaller than life, someone who's weaker, someone who's nerdy or awkward, and then they have their superhero identity. So I think we can identify with that with the weakness that what draws us in Clark Kent or Peter Parker, and then
The nerd becomes superhero.
Right.
Okay.
But don't you think Superman is the most empathetic? I mean, he went and he saved his schoolmates in the school bus when he was a kid, and then he, you know, he'd almost want to cry. He's like, "Oh my gosh, don't harm these people! What are you doing, Zod?" I mean, you could tell that with him, the way the actor portrayed it, it's like he really did not want these people hurt. He was going to save them no matter what.
Well, let's discuss the actual plot itself. You were comfortable with the plot, and so were you as well. Back to the filmmaking aspect of this. Is there just too much of this CG-generated stuff that you sort of lose the story, or were you comfortable enough to understand
No, I
the
love
story?
that stuff. I think it's
do.
great the way the director can frame a composition, and then you know the animators are going to come in and put CGI into it. You know, that stuff is great. I love it. I have no problem with that.
All right.
Yeah, I liked it.
You-
Loved it. I love the movie.
I'm amazed by that stuff. I mean,
Black,
I
I like
watch
black
it
and white and red, white, and blue. That's what this movie is. There's no gray. It's black, white, red, white, and blue.
But is it accurate? I guess it isn't accurate in real life because we discussed almost everything is in the gray area and it's not necessarily black white. Hey, listen, I appreciate your opinion, Dee, as always. And Jerome Bongiorno, thank you for stopping by, filmmaker, and also Barna Donovan, who is the communications director, or I should say the head of the communications department at your college. We appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by. All right, we're going to take a break right now. And when we come back, speaking of Hollywood, speaking of actors, we're going to talk a little bit about James Gandolfini and his unfortunate passing when Fresh Outlook continues in just a moment.